Welcome back everyone to my Let's Play of Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen. Still here in the Ryan Sea, taking out the Imperial units and hopefully hunting down Randals, who seems like he's kind of a scam artist. He's making everybody, pay for everything, so it kind of makes me, I know I ended last episode talking about kind of my time in Iraq, that first, the first time we had incoming fire, and so it makes me think of some other stories about Iraq, and we had a few scammers there in our area of operations. So, but getting back to what I closed on last time about the first time I was our base came under fire. I was in the Connex, organizing our stuff, making sure everything was okay, survived the shipping, because it was really early in the tour. Yeah, I didn't even hear the alert system going off. So, but I thought it was funny that we had these little weird sayings about the alert. It was like, when you hear the alert, hit the dirt. When the alarm sounds, hit the ground. Because the way mortars, when they hit, or rockets, they went into the ground and they exploded upwards in a like an upside down cone shape. So of course the lower you are to the ground, the more likely that the debris would go over your head. So if you couldn't make it to a bunker in time, you just like hit the ground and help increase your chance of survivability. But I always thought it was really funny that they had that little like kind of a little poem to get you to remember like how to help increase your survivability. So it was kind of funny, but at the same time, I guess it worked because it's been 14-15 years. I went over there in 2007, so 15 years, 14 years, because I left in 2008. So it's been a while, but I still remember those two little like limericks to remember. When the alarm sounds, hit the ground. When you hear the alert, hit the dirt. But anyway, getting back to Iraq and scammers. We were in the Horajab region. Actually, we were in the Arab Jabor region, but Horajab was our northern border. It was like the southern suburb of Baghdad. And we were... They had a lot of problems, of course, just because, from neglect and, just, terrorism and fighting and stuff like that. Really destroyed a lot of the industry and the infrastructure in the city. So, of course, we wanted to rebuild that to help bring back an order of life to the people in the area and give them jobs and stuff like that. So, we'll hop in here once we finish seeing what these people have to say in this city. The High Monk Randals is rumored to be the biggest coward in the Empire. But anyway, in Horajab, one of the sheikhs there was Sheikh Ali. And the sheikhs were kind of, the head of the families. Think of them kind of like almost like the mayor of, the city. And everyone kind of deferred to this guy. And so we had a little contract with him that... he would get, people in his family, people in the city, to basically pull security while we hired contractors. Americans brought in like contractors or, Iraqi contractors to fix stuff, because one of the major problems was the sewer line. You'd walk through the city and it would smell like rotten eggs. And you could see where the sewer lines were busted on the roads, because the roads were dirt there, they weren't paved like in America. And you could tell where the pipes were, the sewer pipes were busted, because you would see the strip, where the liquid was seeping up into the dirt road. So you'd see this like big stripe, where the sewage line was busted. So of course we wanted to, it was important to get the sewer lines back up and running just for hygiene purposes too, and to just make it more livable, because like I said, it smelled really, really bad. So we gave Sheikh Ali a bunch of money and said, okay, you got to give divvy this up to your people, So they provide the protection for the contractors when they come in here to do this stuff. And he comes in one day, he's driving like a new luxury car. He's like, I need more money. It's like, you like crooked little guy, you were basically pocketing the money that we were giving you to, hire, security to help improve your town. It was like so corrupt. So we had a bet whether that guy was gonna get shot, because there was kind of an infeuding between Sheikh Ali and there was a Sheikh Juma there, and Juma was a former military officer in Saddam Hussein's army, and so he kind of had some respect from the people, because he was a fighter, and he just like in America, the military is kind of a noble profession. So a lot of people, this guy was a brave guy, and anyway, so there was kind of like a friction between these two guys, because even though Ali was like the head sheikh, he didn't necessarily have the respect of the people that Juma had. He just basically had respect because of his title and his position. And he was always trying to, Ali was always trying to badmouth Juma, I guess, to make him appear worse and, win some of his converts over to him. And it was a big rigmarole the one time on Thanksgiving. A bunch of the terrorist cells, they overran a few Iraqi army checkpoints, and they were making progress into the city until, American air superiority, the helicopters came in and, basically drove them back. But of course, Sheikh Juma was out there, amongst the fighting. Ali wasn't, and but of course, Ali was like, all these, Sheikh Juma's in on it, like these are some of the people that he associated with, they're former folks from the Iraqi army, who don't like the American, occupation. He's a bad guy. And then of course Sheikh Juma was like, what do you mean? Like, how could you say that, like I'm a bad guy? I was out there fighting, like risking my life, fighting alongside the Iraqi army. What were you doing? So we were just expecting them to eventually come to blows, but they never did. But who knows? In the meantime, who knows what happened since then? So, but I wonder whatever happened to some of those people over there. So, another person we thought of, I can't remember his name right now, but he was basically like the number 2 guy in the terrorist organization down in Sophia Park, which was the southern border of where we were positioned and our area of operation. And whatchamacallit, things were closing in on him, so the Iraqi police force obviously wanted this guy dead because, he ran a lot of operations against the Iraqi police, so, he was basically responsible for a lot of the deaths of the Iraqi police. He was like number 2 on the special forces who were like looking for him, because he was a high value target. And he said he was second in command of like the terrorism cells down there. And it was, I guess he saw the net closing in on him. So he ended up like basically coming forward and working a deal where like we kind of give him like immunity and kind of keep him safe, and then he would like rat like all the terrorists out. He would, because one of the big problems we had was, we were setting up that, like our own homegrown like National Guard in a sense. As I was mentioning earlier, we were having Sheikh Ali like hire his people to provide security. So it was kind of like an independent like police force. Think of it, I guess. I know it kind of has a negative connotation to it, but like a militia. We'd have a group of like armed men who would patrol their own city, try to keep it safe. And anyway, of course the some of the bad people would tried to sneak in and join these, you know, the American-backed, you know, Iraqi militias. So this guy was like, you know, hey, I know everybody who's, you know, works with me, who works as, you know, in the terrorist cells or has terrorist connections. You know, I can help you vet them, you know, so, you know, people don't sneak in. And so, of course, you know, we're like, okay, we'll use you and stuff like that. But he's like, you know, but basically you have to, like, protect me, you know. But, so yeah, we were just, like, waiting for, you know, somebody to, you know, of course we, you know, promised to protect him, but who's to say that, you know, like, somebody, you know, from the Iraqi army or the Iraqi police who didn't like him, you know, after he, you know, outlived his usefulness, you know, was just going to, you know, shoot him in the back or something. And then, of course, you know, like I said, the Iraqi police hated the guy, our special forces were after the guy, you know, the regular army, our unit was after the guy, and then, of course, when he betrayed all his, like, terrorist friends, they were after the guy, so he had a bunch of people gunning for him. So, but yeah, he was still around when we, when, you know, my unit left. I was with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 3rd Infantry Division at Fort Stewart. So yeah, when we left, and you know, he was still around giving the intel, so, but who knows what happened to him since then. So, and then I guess another person that I was thinking of would be Red Dress Goat Girl. She was a shepherdess. I was doing a story on Patrol Base Stone in Horror Job after that incident where the Iraqi, well, the insurgents kind of overrun a few Iraqi checkpoints in Horror Job. We were decided, you know, we were gonna go with more of the general portrays, getting in with the local populations. So we're like, well, in order to help, you know, deter future attacks like this, rather than being like shut up in the forward operating base, the FOBs, which were the big American bases, we would set up smaller patrol bases like within the city. So think of it like being like a police station, is the best way I can describe it. So you'd move like a company of guys out there, you know, about 150 people. That's about the size of a company. There were, you know, 4 platoons, and each platoon's about, you know, 32 people. So you have about roughly about 150 folks. And, you know, we take over an area, you know, and so Sheikh Ali gave us this, like, big, huge, like, house, kind of like a mini mansion. And, you know, that became, like, the base for these, this platoon to stay in. And that way they had a presence in the city, so they can react really quickly to anything that popped up in the city. And then also, too, it gave, you know, the people, like, security in their sense. You know, you feel better, you know, like, if there's a police station in your neighborhood. So it's just a way to help, you know, build rapport with the locals, respond to threats. So I was out there when they were, like, building the patrol base, you know, and converting it. And there was a field next to the mansion, basically, the big house that they were getting for use as the patrol base. And so I was like, they're taking pictures, you know, of the bulldozers clearing the field, because they were going to use that as, you know, a potential landing pad for helicopters, and then, of course, to stage their vehicles, the Humvees and the MRAPs, which are the mine-resistant vehicles. So while I was out there, there was a shepherdess there, and she was in a red dress, and whatchamacallit, you know, I was just like, you know, figured, you know, while I'm taking pictures, I'd go and pet some of the goats, because I'm a big animal lover, as you couldn't tell. So I start petting these goats, and while I'm petting the goats, I start, like, talking with the goats. I'm like, goat, nah, you know, and I'm just, you know, talking to these goats or whatever like that. And this girl, you know, red dress goat girl, she's, you know, laughing at me. You know, I think she thinks it's funny that I'm, like, talking with these goats and petting them and stuff like that. You know, and I wave to her and she smiles at me. But, you know, that's basically all the communication that we can do, because I didn't speak the language and she obviously didn't speak English. But I always used to joke that she was probably, like, thinking, like, this guy is so weird. He thinks he can talk to goats. But, like, I think she was smiling at me to, like, flirt with me, be like, you know, but even though he's weird, like, if, like, he marries me and, like, brings me over to America, I'll never have to, like, herd goats again. You know, so she was, like, in my head, I picture her, like, trying to put the charm on me. But, so, I'll throw a picture of her up in at the end of this video before Mr. Orpheus' picture pops up. So you get to see who Red Dress Goat Girl is. But yeah, interesting little stories just from my time there. So, oh, right. I wonder if Orpheus is meeting any Red Dress Goat Girls here. No, he ain't meeting any. He's just meeting Imperial units and wyverns. They are not as cool as goats. Goats are pretty funny. Another weird goat story that didn't take place in Iraq, but I still find really funny, is my first duty station was in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and the big thing about Fort Polk, Louisiana is it's the home of the Joint Readiness Training Center. And it was basically a big training center where units would come to train before they went off to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan, or if they were being combat certified. So sometimes, like a new unit would stand up. Like I remember there was a striker brigade. They were a new vehicle that was rolling out while I was in the Army. So a new striker brigade was set up. So in order to, certify that they were combat ready, they came to the Joint Readiness Training Center and they ran exercises, to test their combat effectiveness, their command, control, just to make sure that, everything's, iron out any problems that they may have in their logistics or, in, their just command structure, give some experience to their leaders in basically, an environment where they're allowed to make mistakes. So, but we tried to make it as realistic as possible. So, we had, like role players come in and like role play like Iraqi villagers and or like Afghani villagers. We had villages set up, so we'd have to run things, through the villages, and we had an insurgency force played by the 501st Infantry. They were deployed down there basically to be the opposing forces, the OPFOR. And so they, over in Iraq, I don't know if in Afghanistan, because I didn't deploy to Afghanistan, but in Iraq, they have goats, a lot of goats, because it's a desert climate, and cows use a lot of water. So much of their, beef and meat came from goats, because they don't use as much water. And so we had a bunch of goats out there, and we actually had a farm, a goat farm. So one time I was doing media escorting. We had a media out there just doing a story on, the training that we did out there. And we were closing up for the day, and the reporter was just like, hey, I want to go check out the goat farm. Just get a few pictures, maybe some B-roll. B-roll is just like, stuff that you run with news stories that, kind of like background, footage, So we go there, and I'm like, okay, we'll stop in there. So we stop at the place, and, I just talk with the folks who are running the place. I'm like, hey, we have a reporter here. He wants to take some shots and B-roll. He's like, okay, cool, no problem. So while he's out there doing his thing, I'm just sitting there, and the goat dog, the shepherd dog, runs up to me. It's a really friendly dog. I don't know what kind he was, like a mutt or whatever. But doesn't matter. He was a nice dog. So he comes up to me, and he sits by my leg, and I start petting him. Because I like animals. So I'm petting this shepherd dog and this goat dog. And a goat comes over to me, gets kind of closer to me, within arm's length. He's just curious. Well, I pet dogs all the time. So I was like, but I don't really pet goats a lot. So it's like, I said to the dog, I'm like, hey, dog, I'll pet you later. I'm going to go pet this goat now. So I start ignoring the dog, and I go over and start petting the goat. And the dog is funny because I guess the dog's like, wait a minute. I'm, in charge of these goats. I'm the boss. So he goes over, and he barks at the goat and scares it away, and then he sits where the goat was. He scared the goat away. He's like, nope, you're supposed to pet me, not the goat. So it was just so funny that, the dog was kind of getting jealous of me giving the goat the attention. He's like, wait a minute, I'm the boss here. I'm the goat. I'm in charge of all these goats. You need to pet me. So yeah, animals can be so silly. So, but funny. So, one of the few good memories I had of Fort Polk. Yeah, a lot of people gave that place a bad rep. So, yeah, it was okay. I mean, I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, so it wasn't that much different from where I was at. It was an hour to the nearest big city. Where like in Pennsylvania, where I grew up, it was I guess the nearest kind of big city where a lot of stuff was Allentown, which was about an hour away. Up down in Louisiana, it was Alexandria, which is about an hour away. 20 minutes to Walmart. Just small little country living. So it really didn't bother me all that much. Although I can see how, like, if you were, say, from a city and were used to, big hustle bustle, how it might drive you crazy. It would be, not necessarily drive you crazy, but it'd be a big system shock because everything was like wide open. Which is probably one of the reasons why it made such a good training center. There was so much wide open land, that allowed the army to run large exercises, to bring in, entire brigades to, test their combat ability. So, but good old Fort Polk. I remember when I was assigned that location in AIT, which is the Advanced Individual Training, which is the place you go after you finish your boot camp. You have your assigned job or your MOS, Military Occupation Specialty. I remember when we were nearing graduation, we all received our orders, and when my orders were read out, like one of the head NCOs was like, "Who did you anger to get stationed at Fort Polk?" So I almost didn't go to Fort Polk though. We had one of our soldiers, one of my fellow army, friends, basically, because at the time, everybody, you're all fresh out of AIT, so it's like you all have the same skill level, so you're interchangeable. So you can do this thing called order swaps, and this one guy, he was getting stationed in Korea, and he wasn't really sure if he wanted to go to Korea. He was like, "Oh man, like, do I really want to leave America?" Type thing or whatever. And I was like, "Hey man, if you not really want to go to Korea, I'll be more than happy to go to Korea. See the world, explore." I was like, "We can do an order switch, if you want. All we'd have to do is just, because it didn't matter. The Fort Polk would be still getting a soldier based right out of AIT, and Korea would be getting a soldier right out of AIT too. We were both interchangeable, in terms of skill sets." But at the end, he decided, not to change out. So I got stuck in America. So, but good old. And then my next duty station was, like I said, Fort Stewart in Georgia. I finished out my deployment there. I was only there for a few months, and then we got transferred over to Iraq. So, and that's where I finished things up at. So, but yeah, it was a good time. I guess looking back, I don't think the soldier life was necessarily for me. I think I was a better journalist than I was a soldier. I mean, I didn't get into trouble or anything like that, but I guess some people just live that lifestyle. I was better at the job I was assigned in the Army than probably more of the Army whole lifestyle. But it was a good experience for me. I look back on it. Sometimes now, if I would have stayed in the Army, I'd be almost eligible for retirement. I'd be hitting my 19 years. You can retire at 20. I have a friend who I was in Iraq with who's just about to become a sergeant major, which is the highest enlisted rank. So I wonder how far I could have gotten. I don't think I would have gotten as far as him. Like I said, I was really a strict guy. I was kind of goofy and silly, so I don't know if I would have, I was good at my job, I guess, but I wasn't that, that gung-ho hardcore guy, I guess, so I'm sure that would have eventually hurt my promotion chances in the future, but yeah, my friend though, he's about ready to hit the peak, so yeah, good for him. So he may actually be coming. His last duty station may be near where, assuming he, if he gets out after this, a few more years, he's ready for retirement too. But he was gonna stick on for probably another 3 years at least, because then retirement is kind of based on your last 3 years. So obviously you want to retire at that higher rank pay, get more. And the longer you stay in, after 20 you retire with 50%, and then every year after that you get another 2.5, so you can max out at 30 years with 75% of your base pay retirement for the rest of your life. So who knows, he might stay in longer, but I heard he may be transferring, maybe transferring near where I'm at, so that'd be cool. Run into him, and don't run into a lot of folks that I served with. Occasionally I'll bump into them because there's a few military installations where I'm at, but I actually ran into one guy who I was in my basic training with. For some reason he remembered me. He's like, are you in the army? And I was like, no, I wasn't in the army. And he's like, where'd you go to basic? I was like, Fort Jackson. He was like, were you in this company? And I was like, I don't even remember the company. He's like, but then he was like, do you remember Drill Sergeant? Do you remember Drill Sergeant Dodds? Was there a Drill Sergeant Dodds? And I was like, yeah, I remember Drill Sergeant Dodds. Drill Sergeant Dodds. He was memorable. The fact that, like, I guess he was the first person that this soldier, my fellow person, basic training, Gant was his name. Decided to recall was Drill Sergeant Dodds. Drill Sergeant Dodds, just a big, scary guy. Trying to think, like, I don't know, I don't, it might be a weird analogy, but like picture like a Mike Tyson. So he's this like big, huge guy, he's probably like 6.5, probably like, 250 solid muscle, and this guy screamed and yelled, and he was like so scary. You just like took one look at this guy, and you were like, I don't ever want to be on the wrong end of his wrath, because like I said, he was scary. Like I said, like a picture like a pro football player, like a boxer, like a Mike Tyson. Really scary guy. But yeah, it was. We always used to kind of joke. Obviously never to his face, of course, but. We were always picturing like he, even though he's like this big scary guy, at basic training, that he'd probably like go home and he'd have like his girlfriend. He'd be like so loving. He'd be like, "Hey, honey, how you doing? I brought you these like roses." And he'd be like so sweet, and stuff like that. But then he'd like flip 180, when like he came in and he had the army uniform on, so. But, yeah, Drill Sergeant Dodds, so. But, one of the. It's weird, I can remember, faces, and, it's weird, I have really good memory. I can remember, like, faces, and I can see, like, all the, the drill sergeants that were in our platoon and in our, our sister platoons, because we had a company. There was 4 platoons. So I can picture most of the drill sergeants, but I can't remember any of their names except for Drill Sergeant Dodds. He just made that big of an impression on me, and I guess he made it on everybody else because, like I said, when I ran into this guy at 7-Eleven, he was like, "Drill Sergeant Dodds, do you remember him?" And I was like, "Yeah," and then he was like. So he came up to me, he's like, "I recognize you from the way your head is shaped." It made me a little self-conscious. I'm like, do I have a weird shaped head? I don't know. Maybe I do. I don't know. But maybe that's why I'm still single. I have a weird shaped head. Who knows? What is a good shaped head? I don't know. My dog, Spartacus, he has a weird shaped head, I guess. Well, he doesn't have a weird head. He would have a non-breed conformed head. So Spartacus is, well, he's part Chihuahua. But Chihuahuas, in showing, they have to have an apple head. So their head looks kind of like an apple. There's another type of Chihuahua called the deer head Chihuahua. And those ones can't be shown. They're not considered like the breed standard. So my dog Spartacus has a deer-shaped head. Because, he's a mutt. He's not pure Chihuahua. We had his DNA tested, and it said he was 50% Corn Terrier, 50% Chihuahua, which I don't think is realistic, because Terrier dogs are, known for their ratting dogs. They, were bred to kind of chase rats and, drive them from farms and barns and stuff like that. But Spartacus is scared of rats. And when he's like, he has the wiry hair of a terrier, thin, straggly hair, so definitely you see terrier in him. We actually thought he might be more Chinese crested, because he's kind of naked on his belly, but he kind of looks almost like a Chinese crested. But like I said, the DNA came back and said 50% Corn Terrier, 50% Chihuahua, but he looks more like a Chihuahua when his wiry hair is shaved off. So I'm thinking maybe it's more, maybe like 75% Chihuahua, 25% Corn Terrier, because he doesn't really show much Corn Terrier, I guess, features. We definitely do not want our demon unit there fighting this unit, because those seraphims there, they would have, I mean not the seraphims, the sylphs, they would have defeated our phantom there. Their missile attack there would have wiped them out. So yeah, not good. So we just had a quick run away. This thing is dealing a lot of damage to this group here. Better use the Empress card just to be safe, because otherwise the cherubim there would have taken out our princess. We can't lose our princess. Nope. Speaking of princesses, eventually, when I ever get time, I'll eventually have to. I have a bunch of my princesses. I usually do like other people's rats and pets for these heroes, but I actually have penciled in when I do Ultima 3. I'm going to use my princesses that I had, so they're actually going to star my rats. So, yowza, look at all these enemy units, but hey, we're making good progress here, so. And wow, I can't believe how fast this episode went. I really went on a big rant about all my military experiences and a bunch of weird stuff. But I guess that was good, because not really a lot happened. We didn't really liberate a bunch of places. We liberated that one city, but that was pretty much it. So it was mainly just all fighting and beating back the Imperial forces. So we didn't learn too much, other than confirmed what we already thought, that that Randals is not a good guy. He's run a bunch of shenanigans, so we gotta do something about that. So, but we're getting very close to his castle, so his stronghold there, as you can see. So his last line of defense is popping up. So next episode we'll confront Randals and hopefully bring him to justice. Thanks for following along. Have a good day. Bye.